Welcome to the Synergy Sessions, Aging Smarter in Silicon Valley. I'm your host, Tom Nelson, and I know firsthand as a family caregiver and part of the sandwich generation how tough it can be to take care of your aging parents while balancing your own life, career, and family. We'll bring you the experts and information necessary to help make your life a little bit easier and you a little bit smarter. Synergy Sessions is brought to you by Synergy Home Care, bringing you personalized in-home care and peace of mind to Silicon Valley families. I really do hope you enjoy the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Synergy Sessions, Aging Smarter in Silicon Valley. Today, we are going to be talking about resources for seniors of all income and socioeconomic levels. Many times we talk about services that people can pay out of pocket, but there is a huge gap across residents in Silicon Valley and beyond, and their ability to pay for very needed and essential services. So I'm very excited today. We have Adrianna Stankovich, who is from Sourcewise, who is I want to get this right, the designated area agency on aging for Santa Clara County. And I'm going to have her talk about what that is. Adrianna is the Integrated Health Services Program Manager, which she oversees a lot of different things and a lot of the different services that support seniors across the area. So I'm going to stop there and just welcome you, Adrianna. Thank you so much for being on Synergy Sessions.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. So why don't we just get started? Why don't you let me know what your role that the Integrated Health Services Program Manager essentially does, and maybe just a little bit of what Sourcewise does and kind of their purpose for being.
Sure. So the Integrated Health Services program at Sourcewise is fairly new. The programs we're doing aren't new, but putting them together into one department is. And I personally am overseeing our CalAIM program. So people who are on Medi-Cal, they are eligible for enhanced case management, different community support services programs. And here at Sourcewise, we have enhanced case management. We have community supports for nursing home diversion to keep people out of nursing homes. And we will soon, starting in July, have community supports for respite and for home modification. And in addition to that, I also oversee our Caregivers Network program, which supports family and friend caregivers who are caring for people and who really need a lot of support because it's a very hard job.
Yeah, for sure.
Sourcewise, yes, we're the designated area agency on aging. So what that means is we are the designated group in Santa Clara County who gets the funds from the federal and state governments to do aging services here. And then additionally, we get other funding opportunities from different areas, but our main purpose is those aging services. And we work with older adults, people with disabilities, and their caregivers. And we have a lot of different programs, and we do a lot here, and we're always looking for new opportunities. So we've grown tremendously since we started in 1973.
It's quite a while.
Yeah.
So you said, you're funded through federal and state and county too, I guess.
Other funding wherever we can find it, right? It's if we, in the past, we've gotten state funding for special projects. We've gotten just funding opportunities from maybe companies that'll have different grant availabilities for different specific topics. Whatever we can find to help supplement the services we can offer people in Santa Clara County, we will try to find and apply for it.
So the people that you're serving, what are the eligibility kind of criteria for them? Because as I mentioned before, care management, home care, transportation, home modification, all those different things are very accessible if you have the money out of pocket to do those things. So, but if you find yourself in a position that you can't afford that, what is the process or criteria that somebody would need to either go through, or how you would help them?
So our eligibility, it will differ between each programs because each program it's funded based on specific eligibility. So for example, for Caregivers Network, We can work with caregivers 18 plus. They cannot be getting paid for their work. They could be getting paid to care for somebody else, but not for
Mhm.
the person they're calling about. And their care recipient has to be over 60 or under 60 if they have a neurocognitive disorder like dementia or something similar.
Okay.
And that's something that's just written into the Older Americans Act at the federal level.
Mhm.
And so those are the rules we follow for that. So each of them will have slightly different rules. In general, um, for some of our programs, it's like a 60 plus kind of a eligibility. For some of our programs, especially the Medi-Cal programs, the ones I oversee, they could be 18 plus. They do have to have certain requirements in like uh, activities of daily living in order for us to be able to work with them. But um, it sort of differs program to program. But I would say in general, either Medi-Cal or older adults and their caregivers, that's the main focus of population we work on. That the people with
Okay.
disabilities, they can be the older adult as well, but they'll be the ones that tend to be the 18 plus in our Cal AIM programs, like the enhanced care management or community supports.
Got it. So there's age requirements. So the actual family caregiver or whoever the person is the person who is the family caregiver, the primary caregiver. Then you have the care recipient is over 60. And then also from a financial standpoint, they are already have qualified for Medi-Cal. They're coming through
Correct.
that process. So you don't have to go through and verify any financial or anything like that because they're already through
They're
that
already there.
process and that's already been established for them. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And if anyone has questions about whether they qualify or not, we have our health insurance counseling and advocacy program, HICAP,
Okay.
that can counsel people on if they qualify for Medi-Cal, how to qualify for Medi-Cal, in addition to the Medicare counseling they do.
So I think probably most people can understand home modifications. If you're doing something to help them with their ability to stay in their home, safety assistant, whatever it is, and home care and those type with the
Yeah.
caregiver respite, that's pretty straightforward. What is specifically, the case management piece of that? Does everybody get a case manager or because you're overseeing that piece of it too? So what exactly is that? What is the service that case management is? Because I would imagine
So
that's kind of the hub to all the spokes, right?
Yeah, exactly. So in it's done kind of a little bit different in each program. In Caregivers Network, it's very short term, and the client is actually a caregiver, not the care recipient. The caregiver and the care recipient both benefit from it because we're helping them find things to help their
Right.
care recipient, but that's really where the focus is. So we help connect them to those long term things that might help them. And that can be something internal at Sourcewise, like enhanced case management or our other case management program, the multi service, oh my goodness, multi purpose senior services program. Got to get that right. MSSP, it's called, which I don't oversee, but that's another program
Mhm.
that they might qualify for as well. And then our enhanced case management program, they are within our department, they are that's that focal point. And when we have people coming into some of the other programs in the community support programs in here at Sourcewise, they have that conversation with you might benefit from having enhanced case management because they're those uh, employees in the community supports are very focused on that specific need. So nursing home diversion, they're very focused on making sure they don't go to a nursing home or they're coming home from a nursing, that they're going to
Mhm.
somewhere that is an appropriate place for them to leave. That is what they're focused on. And if that person's also working with a care manager with the enhanced case management program, they that would be the person to help organize all of the other resources and support. So arranging for them to have Medi-Cal pay for their incontinence supplies or arranging getting an in-home supportive services worker. All of those things that sometimes people don't know how to do, they'll help guide them through it. Or if
Yeah.
they just can't do it, maybe cognitive issues,
Mhm.
or we've had clients with just severe anxiety, then the lead care managers will do that with them in tandem to help them access those services.
Okay. And that just brought up something for me that probably most people, I mean, just every time I talk to you, I learn even more about what you are doing and just and your reach and just the different areas. They might not even know what services are available or even if they know are aware that they have a need. So what's that process? So if somebody contacts you, what's that intake process like? Because you might uncover opportunities to help them that they're not even thinking about. What does that process look like? So if I'm a listener right now, I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. I those sound great. But, you know, what is the next step on that as far as what's your intake process?
Yeah, so I mean, again, it's slightly different for each
Mm,
program, but the very kind of main gist of it is we're connected with people, and that might be through the health plans, that might be through friends, that might be through professionals, that might be just
mm,
they stumbled upon us and gave us a call, but we connect with them, and then we have that longer conversation with them that really keys into what their whole situation is. Because a lot of times people call us saying, I need help with A. And then
mm,
after we have a very long conversation with them and do complete assessments with them, we can see, you need help with A, but you also need
mm.
help with B and C and D, and sometimes E and F and
Right.
G. And that really helps paint the picture of what this person's needs really are. And then we can, from there, create a care plan in order to meet those needs and what the plans are to meet each of those needs.
Okay. And so if someone's not watching our podcast, their needs are being unmet. What's
Yeah.
the demand right now for this? So are you finding like, you know, so you have the people that can't afford out of pocket, like we were just talking about, and those that are maybe using other services, but what is, yeah, and I would imagine that the demand is growing
Yes.
because you know the senior demographic 65 plus and 85 plus are the you know fastest growing demographic right now. What is that demand, and are you meeting the demand, or are you, or what? Because that seems to be to me like a big piece. And, you know, once people learn about this, are you able to help as many people that
Yeah.
need?
Yeah, and that also kind of differs program to program because we still have capacity in our CalAIM programs, especially as we continue to grow them. That we're constantly accepting new referrals and new enrollments. That one is because the funding stream is a little bit different. It's from
Mm,
Medi-Cal, so it's a little bit different. The one that's really and those people are on Medi-Cal, so they are, even if they don't technically qualify for ours, maybe they don't have the right needs with activities of daily living, but maybe they can be serviced through a different Medi-Cal program elsewhere, and we'll make sure they get to those programs. With Caregivers Network, that's where the big one is because we talk with people who can afford home care, they just don't know where to start, so we're guiding
mhm,
them, or maybe they or their loved one or both are a little resistant to try it. So, this way
mhm.
they can try it without having to spend anything. So 99 times out of 100, they love it and they keep going with it. And we work with people who, are on or qualify for Medi-Cal, so we can
Mhm.
guide them in those ways. But there is that chunk of people that just, they don't make enough money, but they
Mhm.
make too much money. They're in that donut, right? And it's
Right.
really hard to help them find those long term solutions. And we have
Mhm.
a respite grant in our program, but we have a wait list right now because we
Mhm.
have a lot of people in need. It's not terribly long, it's not years or anything, it's more
Right,
a
right.
few months, but it's terribly long to for somebody who really needs that respite to wait.
Yeah.
So, we also know of other respite funds in the area, so we'll
Mhm.
guide them, while they're on our waiting list. But it is going to continue to grow, and we do what we can to
Mhm.
get additional grant money
Mhm.
to put towards those respite grants. We did successfully get about $30,000 this year from the Mercury News Wish Book,
Oh, wow.
which was really exciting. And,
Mhm.
the 30 plus people that we can now help that we wouldn't have been able to help if we didn't go after any of extra funding. So it's we do what we can, but yeah, the
Mhm.
demand is very, very high for those people. And, if we're lucky, they might qualify for something else that we can guide them to. Like if they're a veteran, there's different programs at the VA. But if they're not, we have to be a lot more creative with our solutions and say, okay, well, this agency can help with this bit for 6 months, and then that agency can help with that bit, for a year, and just try to connect them like a puzzle, right? Puzzle piece it
Right.
together so they can continue getting ongoing support. Because besides other than our support group that we have, we can only work with them for up to 6 months. I mean, usually it's more like three, but we can only work with them for up to 6 months. They can call us back with any additional questions, but we can't give
Mhm.
them any additional respite. We just don't have the funding.
Uh-huh.
And we just have to help them find those long term
Right.
solutions, which when you're in that donut,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really hard to find.
Right. Well, as I was mentioning before, it seems like there are new kind of intentions through Medicare and different other things that are happening right
Right.
now, because the realization is there is this need, especially for the caregivers,
Hmm.
because if the caregivers burn out, or who's going to take care of them. So it is
Exactly.
pretty critical that these services exist. Well, that's
Exactly.
really interesting too, because I didn't realize that was more of a shorter term solution, and you're helping them connect with longer term solutions, but you're kind of the parachute in to kind of take
Yeah.
care of the immediate need. And
Yeah.
so is it more in, like, if they're in a crisis mode, or if they have an immediate type need? I mean, when's the time that somebody should contact you? Is it too early? I mean, because if they contact you maybe too early, it's like, well, we can't help you right now. But like, when should people, what stage of their need should they be reaching out? Or maybe, maybe the onset. Well, I'll shut up and I'll let you talk. But I'm just trying to, I'm kind of working on my head just based on what you just said. What is the ideal time for somebody to contact you when there's a perceived or expected need coming up,
Yeah.
or if they're in the middle of it?
Yeah, I love when people contact us early. We've had people contact us and said, I've just started taking my mom. She just got home from the hospital last week. I love that. And
Hmm.
they might not need our respite grant yet. They're not,
Hmm.
they're not at that point or whatever, but we can give them all the information of these are all of the different resources that are out there, and here's our respite grant, and you can call us when you're getting ready to start to need it, and here's all of the support groups, and just so they have it all, so that way when it does come up, then they're ready. It doesn't have to be uh I'm ready to drop my loved one off at the ER.
Yeah. Right. Right. Okay. So that's good to know. That gives you probably a little bit more planning time and everything, and get the
Yeah, yeah.
resources in place. And
Yeah, especially with
so,
the wait list, because we want to make sure,
right.
like, if somebody comes to us, and it is based on when you call, but also the urgency of the need. But
Hmm.
if 17 people are calling us and it's an urgent need, it's like, well, what are we supposed to do with this wait
Right.
list? So
Exactly.
definitely earlier is better.
So it's the area, was it the
Area
area agency?
on
So are
aging.
you restricted to Santa Clara County, or what is your service area? And what if they live just over the border,
Yeah,
or let's say in a different state? This is going out into the internet. So if
yeah,
somebody has a similar need, but they're not in your service area, what are the typical services? I mean, are there Sourcewises type agencies everywhere, or maybe,
yeah.
what are the resources typically?
Yeah, so we do serve just Santa Clara County. Special shout out to our South County office. We have our specific office down there because
Uh-huh.
that is a little bit more removed than the rest of the county. We want to make sure we're supporting people in South County area
Mhm.
just as well as we're supporting the rest of the county. But yeah, we can't go to San Mateo, we can't go to Alameda,
Right.
but every county in the country, actually, every county in the country either has or shares with another county an area agency on aging. So
Okay.
sometimes kind of sparsely populated counties might share one. I know
Mhm.
up in Northern California, there's one that I think has 5 counties. But the best way to find out who those people are, I tell people just Google area
Mhm.
agency on aging and your county name, and that will give you the designated area agency on aging in that county. And it might be like Sourcewise, that's a nonprofit, but it
Hmm.
might be through the county government. I've seen it both ways. It's really common for it to be either. So every area agency on aging might do their services slightly
Hmm.
differently, but they all have the same sort of services. So if they don't
Hmm.
do it maybe directly in house, maybe they contract out and do it with
Okay.
somebody, with another agency contracted out.
Hmm.
But every county does have one, and that's where all those, older American Act funds from the federal government go. And of course each state might be different on how they fund them as well. Some states might fund them really robustly. Anybody in Pennsylvania, you're in good hands. They have
Hmm.
really great aging services there. That's where I started my career.
Okay.
But they all have something,
Okay.
so you'd be able to look into it and see like what options are available. And then of course in California, CalAIM, with the enhanced case management community supports, that is a state program. So anybody in all these other counties will have CalAIM programs. And again, it might be done a little bit differently depending on the managed health plan. Like I know Kaiser, for example, in Santa Clara County, they do it in-house,
Mm.
whereas the other contracted out more. So it's really kind of dependent on where you live and how it works. But that's something that, the area agency on aging would know, or could at least point you to the people who do.
Got it. So that's an interesting distinction because you are not a government agency.
No.
So you're a nonprofit, but work with government agency either for funding or other maybe partnerships that you're
Yeah.
working with. And then what's the structure of the people that are actually doing the job? Obviously, you're kind of in an administrative role, but the people on the ground, are they your employees, or do you have volunteers that help too? Or who are the people
Yeah.
that are boots on the ground for you?
Yeah, yeah. So in my program, all the boots on the ground are all direct employees of Sourcewise. We do have some volunteers and we have a specific volunteer program as well that
Hmm.
does like intergenerational events and some really amazing
Hmm.
programming to reach out to the older population in Santa Clara County. I know the health insurance counselors, they, very detailed training. So their volunteer
Hmm.
counselors can help answer questions on Medicare. And then of course we contract things out as well. Like our
Hmm.
out of home respite, that's contracted out to other agencies.
Yep.
So it's kind of a combination of all of these kind of things.
Because I was also just thinking about, gosh, if people were interested and they're inspired by what you're doing to be able to volunteer, or if there's
Yes.
positions that are available on a entry level or front line, because I've actually recently on my team hired some folks who've retired from their previous career, and they wanted to actually get closer to the people that they're touching. Typically as
Right.
you go through your career, you get further and further away from the actual people you're touching on a person to person basis. So I also, because of the demand is so high, to always want to put that
Yeah.
out there, that people might be inspired to connect with you that have no idea that maybe they would never be a recipient of your services, but would love to contribute on that level too.
Oh, definitely. We love, love, love volunteers. And yeah, like I
Uh-huh.
said, we have a whole volunteer program and it's growing, and it's, doing new program. They do a really great work over there with our volunteers.
Okay.
And I know what you mean. Once you kind of start getting out, I love it when I can just maybe take a morning and jump on the phones and start talking to
Hmm.
people again. Like,
Yeah.
it's really gratifying to get that person to person
Yeah.
connection, especially for people, in this sort of field who, the personality type where people persons, so person people.
Yeah.
So, it's really great to be able to do that sometimes. It's fun.
Well, it kind of grounds you back to why you probably started doing this work. There's a
Exactly.
lot of different ways to make money, and you do
Exactly.
have to have a heart for taking care of people and try to, like you're talking about the puzzle pieces, to find the right solution for somebody. And in order to find the right solution, you really got to dig in and
Yeah.
understand them and their circumstance and their dynamic. And that's not a quick thing. You need to really want to
Yeah.
you have to love doing that type of work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I like also remembering what it is the frontline workers need,
Yeah.
because I don't do it every day. And usually, yes, I find out it's the same as I think because I did it for
Yeah.
so many years. But
Yes.
every once in a while,
Yeah.
okay, we need to start doing this too. Because our ultimate goal of everyone is to make sure the services we're providing are the best they can be. And we're doing the best for our clients that we can. That's why my whole team, they're just amazing individuals who just care so much about their clients and the community and helping. And it's wonderful to see.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm lucky.
if somebody is, so they're hearing us, so I'm gonna first of all, I'm gonna have all of your information in the notes. So if
Perfect.
anybody needs to contact you, but what's a good way to connect with you? I mean, you were talking about they can access you through the website because that probably would be another great way just to see the scope and breadth of all your
Yes.
services on there as well. So we'll have the website on there. Besides, phone call or email, whatever, is that just the best way to contact
Yeah, it
you just
depends.
generally?
Yeah, it depends on people's comfort level too. Several of
Mhm.
our programs have interest forms online. So if you're
Yeah.
not really comfortable making that initial phone call, then you
Mhm.
can just do the interest form online. I know
Right.
there's some people that get anxiety when they have to make phone calls. So we'll see that a lot. And I can speak very detailedly to Caregivers Network that we do have a program called My Plan where you fill it out online, and
Mhm.
it'll let us know when somebody's filled it out so we can make sure we connect with them. But when they fill it out,
Mhm.
they can also make an appointment with us on their own. We've had people do this because it tells us when they did it. So we've had people do this at like 1 in the morning
Yeah.
or Saturday
Yeah.
afternoon,
Right.
where they'd have to wait until Monday to call
Right.
us if they really wanted to like organize something. But in addition to that, depending on how they answered their questions, they get
Mhm.
access to a personalized curated library. So,
Oh,
for example, if they said their loved one's fallen, there's going to be fall resource and fall prevention resources in their library. And we're working on expanding that and getting more interesting things in there and just really building it up. And for those people who, because I know, like with my younger relatives, my kids, they don't want to call on the phone. They just want to text.
yeah.
Like that's the
Right.
thing. And so we do have texting enabled with that too. So they can just text us and say like, "Oh,
Yeah.
hey, I have a question about blah," and
Mhm.
then we can just text them back or email them back,
Okay.
and which is really nice for that sandwich generation. Like if you're,
Yeah, yeah.
I know I'm like this. I'm like driving down the road. And I'm like, "Oh, I got to remember that," and I'm not going to remember that.
Yeah.
But, if I'm in like the pickup line for my kid and I think about it, I can just text it really quick and then not have to worry
Yeah.
about remembering it. So those sort of things make it really, really nice to
That's great.
it just makes it a
Well,
lot more
especially,
fit to connect with us.
yeah, so when they're inspired or when they have the moment or
Yeah.
so that's great. So I'm glad I asked that question. So one other thing, another follow up I was going to basically ask is just like what else should we know about Sourcewise? I mean, like I said, the breadth and depth of your programs is incredible. I want to make sure that they knew where to reach you because we're not going to be able to get into everything. But what other
Right.
maybe overarching thing that maybe I didn't ask about or didn't touch on, like you just mentioned, there's resources they can access online specific
Mhm.
to their educational needs or some
Right.
guidance and things like that. Is there anything else that people would benefit knowing about Sourcewise?
Yeah, I mean, we just do a lot. I mean, really, we
Hmm.
do. And it would be impossible just to talk about it all.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I mean, it would be its own podcast, really. It's just so
yeah,
much.
yes, yes.
But, the kind of the ones that the average person will recognize the most are like Meals on Wheels
Okay.
or, health insurance counseling or those sort of
Uh-huh.
things that they might have heard of before. And at the
Hmm.
very least, they understand the concept of it, right?
Right.
We have all of those things here. And the really great thing is we also have the sort of entry into Sourcewise is we have our information and awareness department that accepts in phone calls, emails, whatever, and does that initial resourcing. Sometimes people will
Hmm.
reach out to us personally because we know
Hmm.
me and my team, we've been in this field for a long time. So you just meet
Hmm.
people, right?
Yep.
Which is
Yeah.
totally fine. But for somebody who doesn't know where to start or what to do, they
Right.
are perfect at knowing, okay, this is what the resources are, even if they're outside of Sourcewise, because if somebody doesn't want our Meals on Wheels program, the important thing is they're getting meals. So
Yep.
we'll refer them to ours, but we'll also refer them
Mhm.
to other ones as well, because what's important to us isn't that they're using our services, is that they're using services. And we'll make sure they'll make sure they have all of that information, so then they can make that educated decision on, okay, where do I want to go? I can't say enough good things about our information
Mhm.
and awareness
Yeah.
team. They're fantastic. They're really good at just knowing where to point people and how to help them. And they also do all of our outreach, all of our marketing. They're just
Mhm.
really fantastic, and they really are sort of the hub of like where to start, and
Okay.
they will point people in the right direction
Mhm.
of what they need.
That's so great because, yeah, I mean, the worst thing ever is to call and then have them say, we don't do this
Yeah.
or we don't do that. We try to do it, at Synergy, we try to do the same. We get calls. I mean, we're home care. We'll get calls for like a plumber or something because they think
Yeah.
we're caring for their physical home, not the people in the home. So we try to have our resources. So that's great. So if they're not even sure if Sourcewise would be the provider of the service, they can call you as kind of a first point of contact, and you can kind of traffic control of like maybe point them in the right direction of a resource
Exactly.
instead of just have them start at ground zero again.
Exactly. It's that no wrong door
Yeah.
approach to offering services, because yeah, we might not do it, but we're going to get you to the person who can,
Yeah.
because
Well, sounds like you're partnering with lots of different providers and agencies. And so
yeah.
that's
Yeah, we have
great.
to make sure we're giving people, and we would love to give options too, because,
Hmm.
at the end of the day, it's all about client choice and empowering them to make choices.
Right.
And, we won't say like, oh, go to this program here. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, this, and, sometimes there's only one program. Like if you want
Yeah.
Medi-Cal, you have to go to the county to
Right.
get Medi-Cal. But, other programs, it's like, okay, they have a case management program here. They have a case
Hmm.
management program there, or if it's something we don't do, it's here and here and here. And that way it really empowers the either caregiver or
Right.
the older adult person with disability to really be in charge of their own lives and their
Hmm.
own decision, because that's
Right.
incredibly important, because that's something I think traditionally a lot of older adults, and probably people with disabilities, my background is mostly older adults, but that loss of control over their life is
Yes.
just tragic, especially in the
Yes.
areas it doesn't have to be.
Right.
Empower people to do as much as they can, and that's something that's really important to us.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother podcast too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's because it's great to provide the choices and also provide the resources for, like you're saying, the sandwich generation. I mean, if any group has limited time, it's them. I've been in that
Yeah.
position, and it's so just to be able to make a one call or at least a start call to get a lot of information or get pointed in the right direction is huge. So
Yeah,
I'm glad that came up because I'll be referring even more to you now too. I mean, like I said,
good.
we try to also be that one stop, and we'll even jump on the internet for somebody and look something up for them just so they don't have to make another phone call.
Yeah.
But it's great to know that good people like you and agencies exist out there that are helping people that probably feel like no one's looking out for them and they're lost and they don't have the means and all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And it is really
So
sad when I hear people say like, "Oh, you're the first person who's ever listened to me and pointed me in the
yeah,
right direction." I'm like, "That's sad. Everybody should be doing that."
yeah,
And,
it's
and
so
I think,
true.
yeah, I think it's getting better. I think because the whole
Mhm.
like no wrong door idea
Mhm.
is taking root. But yeah, it's really
Yeah,
hard when people they're running their wheels and getting nowhere. And
yeah,
it's gratifying too when
yeah,
that you've helped me. That's why I love jumping on
yeah,
the phones too, right? It's like, oh, thank
yeah,
you so much. You've helped me.
yeah,
You made my day.
yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. That's the getting back more than you give sometimes is like it really confirms you're doing the right thing
Yes,
and in the right job. So,
absolutely.
well, I want to say thank you so much, Adriana, for being here. So I can't even believe it's already been 35 minutes or
I
whatever.
know.
But the intention is to really open the door for people to contact you with their very specific situation, so that way they can get what they need instead of trying to solve it in a one time. We will have Adrianna and her amazing team at Sourcewise information and contact and how to reach them in the notes. And we definitely encourage you to contact them, because even if they don't do it, they'll point you in the right direction. Thanks again for being on
Thank
Synergy
you.
Sessions. Much appreciated. And all the best to you.
Thank you so much, Tom. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us on the Synergy Sessions. We know you have a lot on your plate, so we really appreciate you spending the time with us today. If you found the information in this episode useful, please reach out to the guest or the resources in the show notes. I know they would appreciate it and would love to help. Also, if you have an idea for a future episode, please reach out to us on Instagram or Facebook, or email us and let us know. We'd love to hear from you and provide information that's useful. Lastly, please remember, you don't have to do this alone.